What is a message? What is a clear message? Like, what does it mean to put together a clear message? What purpose does it have in your business? What does it have to do with attracting clients? These are things that you probably realize at some point you've hit a wall or a speed bump, and you're trying to distill down what the hell is coaching anyways? What is my coaching? What do people get when they hire me? And what pain points do I solve? Who is my ideal client? And there's probably some angst and anxiety around that and frustration. And I just wish I could just get it out. Just God, every time I try to share it, I feel like a toddler learning to speak for the first time. And it's frustrating. Why is it that if you go to a networking event, for example, and it's your turn to share your little 30-second spiel, what do? It's like literal hell for you, and you feel like that answer always changes. Because it did for me. I would go to events and conferences and networking events and little business networking international meetings, right? And Byron, tell us about what you do. And it was like, here we go. Every time my answer would be different every single time. Like, what do we got today? What's the flavor of the day? Do I use a metaphor? Do I use my classic, I help blank overcome pain by blank outcome? What do I do? And nothing ever felt right. It felt like no matter how I tried to squeeze it down, I don't know, it just wasn't me, it wasn't my message. It wasn't really the essence of coaching. Almost like I had gold and was trying to explain gold to someone. And they were just like, all right. I'm like, I guess I have to teach you what gold is in the first place. And the more I would try to explain it, I felt like I was just boring people, losing people. I wasn't really getting anywhere with it. And one of the main reasons I started this business actually was because I, as a coach, was fed up with these efforts in articulating what I do and putting together messages and websites and trying to just tell people, this is who I am, this is what it's about. And I felt like a lot of the guidance on doing this also was misleading. It just didn't align with me, never felt right with me. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through a little bit around what I believe a clear message is in a way that most would not agree with me. Most would not think of it this way. And I want to show you really where I believe we've been led wrong collectively around what a clear message is and how I would position your message instead. And where I think ultimately it will require a little bit more courage, but it's more rewarding and fun. And if you're wondering how to especially position what makes you different through your message, so you're not just another coach, I'm going to talk about that too. And I'm excited. We're going to get into a lot on this little Jim Stone video right here. How do you think a message works? Or when I ask you, like, what is a clear message? What's your initial response? Take a stab at it right now. What is a clear message? What does that mean to you? Does it mean you have a clear ideal client? You solve a clear problem or set of problems. You deliver a clear result. Is it that you've got your quick little 1 to 2 sentence summary very dialed in? I help this niche with these pain points with this process. Does it mean that if you meet someone and they ask you, what do? You tell them in a way that just feels solid. They repeat it back to you. And you're like, yeah, you get it. Exactly. And they're like, yeah, I get it. Exactly what you do. Great. That's a clear message. It's the consistency between your content, social media, your website. What is a clear message? Why? What's the point of having a clear message? Because kind of a weird analogy. It's kind of like having money, right? When you don't have a clear message as a coach, it's all you think about. They can have you feeling definitely like you're a fraud, like almost like you're getting away with something, like you're trying to hawk something. You're not doing a good job representing yourself or the value of your work. And it's all you think about when you don't have a clear message. It drives you nuts. Maybe you get little bursts of inspiration and you're like waking up middle of the night. You're like, that's it. That's it. And then you get it down and then you look at it the next day and you're like, this sucks. Doesn't even come close to talking about what I do. Damn it. You're on draft 5 or 6 of your website. And when you have a clear message, it just feels like, yeah, I've got this thing honed in, dialed in. Somebody asked me, what do you do? I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad you asked. So glad you asked me. Let me blow your mind for a second. A lot of people have the assumption that a clear message means you can articulate and describe who you help, problem you solve, the outcome you deliver, in a way that your coaching facilitates that in a cohesive way. It makes sense. It can be understood. It does a good job pointing to your coaching. Saying, well, you're here on my site, my social media, etc. You're curious, you want to find out more. Let me break it down for you. Almost like the sticker that you put on a car. It's got all the specs on it. The year, the make, the model, the engine, the warranty, the safety information, some information from the manufacturer, fuel stats, engine stats. It's a nice little breakdown. No, it's not getting in the car. You haven't taken it for a test drive yet, but maybe before you want that, you want to get, high level overview of what am I getting myself into? And maybe that's what a clear message is. There's different ways people approach having a message. At first, if you don't have any background in copywriting or putting together a message, or you've never hired anyone that does, or worked with a service or a company that does, a coach's instincts are to talk about themselves and their coaching. It's very employee minded, right? Like, well, if I'm an employee, I need to have a resume. I need to talk about my past experience and why I'm certified, like why I've earned the right to do this, why you should pick me. So it's very like me oriented, me, my coaching, my certifications, my background. You're interested in coaching. Oh, well, what is coaching? Let me explain what coaching is to you. I'll break it down for you. It's not therapy. It's not these things. It's this. It works in these ways. There you go. And then inevitably the coach realizes that isn't doing shit. That's not moving anyone any closer to wanting to work with you. Maybe if someone's a referral or they're already in your network, yeah, they check out the website to cross the T, dot an I. Okay, great. Or it's a company that wants to hire a coach. All right, we know about your coaching. Great, let's tick the box. Great, we got a coach for this quarter. Fantastic. But it doesn't really pull someone toward wanting to work with you. So enter the copywriter. Enter the hyena, who is more entrepreneur-minded, more aggressive. And they're fine with tactics. Manipulative tactics are totally fair game because they got to get this person to want to buy. How do you get a person to want to buy your coaching? Like, what does that look like? What are the tactics that go into that? So what they either do for you if you hire them or they teach you in one of their programs is you got to twist the knife. You got to start with pain. You got to master their psychology. You got to master what your ideal client is going through. And you need to land, your message needs to hit right there. A good message to a copywriter is like a toxic nerve gas. It unhinges the nervous system. It's where it starts to come unglued. And it wakes the person up from this cozy, comfortable reality. And it shows them, no, this pain is a lot more than you realize. So copywriters use the idea of twist the knife, right? Take the pain, lay it out, but then go into it. Talk about how it really sucks. Hit on the fears. After all, fear is the number one proven most powerful way to persuade and influence people throughout history. Is it not? Use fear. Because fear is very primal, works way below the old brain, right? I remember our first house here in Florida. We, as part of our package, we bought brand new, and part of the package we had initially, I think it was like 6 months of free pest control, right? Termites, bugs, stuff like that. In Florida, you want that because it's Florida. And I remember when that package ran out, right? And we had to now choose the package we wanted to start paying for with this company or to not. I remember this guy came to our house and he like walked all the way around, and it was fascinating. And I'm so glad I caught this because he was using a lot of fear. He was talking about, yeah, you have got to really watch out for termites. If they get in your house, here's what's going to happen. And then they start chewing on this, and then this destroys the foundation, and this happens, and you're looking at these bills, and you're going to be paying this amount of money. And Byron, you have got to be proactive with this. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. He's right. I gotta make sure this is handled. I got to make sure. And then I just took a step, and I'm like, wait a minute. This dude is just scaring the shit out of me. That's all he's doing. So instead of buying the highest tier package, I just went with what we had and just paid for that. And I'm glad I paid for it. You want to have something again in Florida. But I didn't buy into the whole fear tactic thing. But man, is that powerful. Because one thing copywriters understand about messaging is that if people are comfortable, they're not going to act. And we know this. And I also believe that's true. Without some kind of instability, people do not act. So the way that copywriters focus the instability in the message is on your pain. You have this pain. Let's make it a nightmare. Let's bring it up to a pitch fever. Let's make it as bad as possible. Talk about how much this really sucks for you. Heighten it. And then through the power of contrast, hope for something new. Relief. A service, a product that can sweep away all that pain. People you can trust. Someone you can trust. Terror and hope. Terror, relief, and hope. That's the formula. Most coaches throw up in their mouth with this. Because if you think about it, coaching is about helping someone reconstitute their nervous system, coming to greater self-alignment. Most coaches are not interested at all in twisting the knife, especially ones that deal with transformation. Writing to their client this way feels like they're completely selling out. It feels gross, feels unethical, feels wrong. They don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. But at the same time, if you go back to the very vanilla, boring, here's who I am, here's how my coaching works, let me explain it to you, that doesn't do anything to make people want to work with you. It's an ineffective message. So one message makes you throw up in your mouth. The other is just boring. What do you do? There's another way you can construct a message. Let's keep the instability piece alive. Most people think having a clear message means you are good at conveying ideas. It's like the telephone game. Remember playing that as a kid, like little Nelson in front of you, and you say the catchphrase, like, I've got 4 apples. And then Nelson hears it and he passes it on, and then they pass it on, and then you get like 10, 15, 20 people. And the person at the end of all of that says something totally different. Like, how do we get from apples all the way into I'm crashing my Corvette? Like, what happened there? And it's the assumption that having a clear message means like every transmission is just understood and relayed back. I'm talking about apples and I'm hearing apples coming right back. We're on the same wavelength. You get it. But clear messaging is not about how you transmit ideas. Clear messaging is about how you transform your audience's existing ideas. It's how you change their mind, change their perspective, change the existing ideas and thoughts in their brain to something else. That is what a clear message does. It doesn't describe what you do. It actually activates the audience. It begins to initiate a transformation where they don't just feel differently about their problem, they begin to see their problem differently. I believe a clear message is not just about creating instability around pain. In fact, you don't have to do that. You don't have to dig the knife. Now, I do recommend still starting with pain because that's ultimately what's needed for someone to realize your message is relevant to them. I should pay attention to you. People don't go around feeling good about something and go, I wonder what it'd be like to go even better. Fortunately, that's not how human beings are wired. We have an intense negativity bias. And in order for us to really invest in any kind of transformation, usually most of the time, it's because we're in pain. Something isn't going the way we want it to. We're challenged with something. We're stuck. We want answers. We want this to stop. We want a different reality. So meet them there. But instead of twisting the knife, instead of trying to make the person feel like shit, don't put the instability on the pain. Put the instability on how your audience is thinking about their pain. Put the instability on the worldview your audience has adopted in relation to the pain. Think about what your ideal clients have been taught around dealing with this pain, around what it means. What does it mean to even have this pain in the first place? Think about the advice they're given on resolving it. Think about the books, videos, and podcasts, and friends, and peers, and courses, and guides that they've been consuming that's not working. Think about the status quo around overcoming this challenge, how most people think about it, how most people teach it, how most people walk others through it. Think about that. And notice in that advice where you personally disagree. That's the start of your message. One of the most powerful things your message can do, if you really want it to move people, because I believe a message, again, doesn't just describe what you do. That doesn't really move people closer to hiring you. Again, if they're at the end of the finish line, maybe. Like they're already a referral, sure. But if they're not, your message needs to pull more of the weight. And one of the most powerful things you can do is disrupt their current paradigm around what they think of the problem. So think about this for a second. What most manipulative messaging is doing is it's saying, yeah, this sucks that you have these problems and these pain points. Isn't this awful? You just haven't bought. You haven't tried the solution yet. And when you do, they all go away. You, in other words, don't need to transform. You don't need to see reality differently. You don't need to let go of certain things. You don't need to embrace a different philosophy. You just need to give us your money and then it all goes away. Instead, if you show the audience, your ideal client, here's your pain, here's your challenges, here's what's not working, and let's look at how you've been taught to navigate this. Here's what's bullshit about that. You start to provide insight. The other doesn't provide any level of insight. It's like the only way through this is through your wallet. But if you provide insight, what you're communicating to the audience is, if this approach resonates with you, I'm more than happy to help you. I want to help you. You're welcome to hire me. We can work together. But before we're there's There's something I'm going to introduce to you. And if it resonates with you, then we'll talk. And that is the insight around what's not working. If your message can come in and disrupt the typical advice in this space, you can have a lot of fun with this. And what I love about adding this to your message is it showcases what makes you different. It showcases your personality. It showcases your values, because you're going to disagree with the common approach one of two ways. One way you're going to disagree with it is because it's ineffective. But a lot of these books and podcasts and TED Talks and people, thought leaders, when they talk about it, it's like slapping a Band-Aid onto a much bigger problem. And you can show your audience how the tactics and strategies that come from that aren't working for them. That's enlightening to your audience. It also creates a feeling of like finally being seen. Like, it's not my fault this shit isn't working. It's just been bad advice. And if you can replace those with effective tactics and effective practices, then now you have someone that starts to pay attention to you. Again, like, you show up as different for them. But that's just one way. The other way, my favorite way, is to show where your personal values clash with the advice, where you feel morally or ethically what people are prescribing goes against what you stand for. And if you assume your ideal client shares that same perspective, those same values, when you relay this to them, it's not just like an intellectual insight. Like, oh, I'll have to try that. That sounds interesting. I'll give that a shot next time. Next time I have this challenge, I'll try this. It's an emotional one. It's an identity level resonance. No wonder the shit doesn't work. It goes against who I am. And now there's a space for something new. So instead of making the pain points what needs to be unstable, like twist the knife, let's make them suck as much as possible to really twist the person's arm into wanting to pay us, make the worldview around the pain points unstable. Show them the cracks and how other people are talking about the pain, making sense of it, the truth around it, around dealing with it. Talk about the specific tactics that you disagree with. Talk about the specific principles you disagree with. Talk about the specific values in those tactics you disagree with. And bring that right into the core of your message. That's the disruption that needs to happen. Because until your message disrupts something, it's just really seen as another option. It's like dropping a cherry onto an ice cream sundae and going, here's something different. Here's something new. Here's my contribution to this. And you think it adds a lot. But in reality, that ice cream sundae is melting. There's gallons of ice cream all over the plate that's already starting to melt, and the cherry just kind of drops in the middle and drowns and is lost, and the person doesn't even realize. Your message needs to start by scooping out a lot of the ice cream off the plate. And when you do that, you start changing your audience's relationship to their current thinking. You start initiating a transformation. You start activating one through insight. And through that activation now, there's a much higher level of curiosity and desire to want to find out how you can help them. And you'll do more with your message, and we'll talk about that in other videos, because you do want to offer something in place of that. You took all the ice cream off the plate. You need to talk about the values, the principles, the tactics that you suggest instead. But this reason right here is missing from 99 out of every 100 coaching brands I look at. There is no disruption. It's a very soft disruption. It maybe hints at a disruption. It's like one or two lines. The way we think about leadership is broken. I help people do this. Dating is toxic. It doesn't have to be. Buy my program. It's like one line, two lines, these quick little throwaway sentences, but there's no meat on the bone. If you really get to the core of highlighting the instability around what your ideal client has been taught should work and doesn't, what they've been taught, this is how reality works and it isn't. The sky is blue, but it's not. I mean, you weave that into your content messaging. You can do it right there on your website. If you have a section where you talk about their pain points, the next thing I suggest, make it a disruption. Disrupt the way they've been taught to think about the problems in the first place. Make that unstable. And that's the beginning of a transformation. They start to let go of that worldview and they start to embrace something new. They have the openness for a different perspective, your perspective. And that's what can start to show up. So to me, a clear message doesn't just explain what you do. A clear message begins to activate that transformation. And it's a good place to stop the video.